Welcome to It's Art, Let's Talk About It, a podcast sponsored by the Museum of Western Art in Kerrville, Texas. Located in the heart of the Texas Hill Country, the museum is dedicated to the preservation and promotion of the American West, especially through the art of the West. In this podcast series, we will visit with artists, art collectors, and gallery directors working in the Western art genre. We'll talk about the history and heritage of Western art, and we'll talk about why talking about Western art is so important. I'm Darrell Beauchamp, the Executive Director of the museum, and I'll be your host for It's Art, Let's Talk About It. The podcast is a member of the Texas Hill Country Podcast Network.
In our last episode, Darrell visited with Walt Gonski, who currently has an exhibit at the Museum of Fine Arts. Well, today we visit with Walt's good friend Kevin Macpherson about his journey in Taos through art.
And we're joined this morning by our good friend Kevin Macpherson, and welcome to It's Art, Let's Talk About It.
Well, good morning, Darrell.
Yeah, no, it's fun to have you on. We got together yesterday for the Walt Gonski show, and man, wasn't that fantastic?
That was great. I was so thrilled to see that all together. I've seen it over the years because I've been friends with Walt for 40 years.
That's what Walt said, and he said that he had never seen it in one place.
No, so like often, it was interesting. There's one painting of Wymus, the night scene at the plaza. And that painting I remember from 1984. I was telling Walt, I saw that painting at Trailside Gallery when he had a big exhibition. When I was just getting into painting, I was an illustrator before that. And I'd go to the galleries, and I was getting into painting, studying at Scottsdale Artist School for a few years. And I just loved Walt's work. I never met him yet. And I was quite a shy person my whole life. Never got in front of people, and art was kind of one of those avenues that got me around things. And I finally got the nerve to call Walt on the phone.
Just to call him in Taos.
Yeah, and I asked him, I saw those paintings, and I would love to study with you. And Walt also a very quiet person,
He's a very
shy person
guy,
too,
yeah.
Especially way back then. And he said, no way, no, I don't teach at all and stuff. But I was ready to give up my illustration career and move up there if I had that opportunity.
Let's talk about you. You're here in Kerrville this weekend because of the Walt Gonski show, but I really wanted to spend time on It's Art, Let's Talk About It, to talk about the life and times of Kevin Macpherson. So,
cool.
Were you one of those guys who started out with a brush in your hand?
Yeah, pretty much. I
mean, I hear it both ways. I hear people say,
Yeah.
no, I didn't take up painting until I was 40 years old. And then I hear people say, I was Jack Sorensen, my friend Jack Sorensen, the painter out of Canyon, Texas, said he used to get in trouble for drawing on his mama's walls.
Oh, yeah.
Were you one of those guys?
Actually, yeah, it wasn't until I started late, though, like when I was 7, I decided to be an artist. So, did I hit something?
No, you're good. Yeah.
No, actually, yeah, that's all I remember doing. My father worked for the newspaper, and he would bring us home newsprint.
And where was this?
In New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay, so Walt Gonski's also a New Jersey
I know.
boy.
All the greats come from New
And
Jersey.
an
right?
illustrator, even.
Yeah. So kind of a similar path in a little bit of way.
Yeah.
But so I just drew all the time. My father brought the lead plates, the drippings from the lead plates.
Oh, no kidding.
And so we'd use that for our lead drawing. So that wasn't probably very good. Not very
good for
smart.
your health.
I know, but it's funny. He would bring those drippings home. We'd draw on the newsprint with that, but that's all we ever did. And we would draw in the dark. We would get in the closet. I always kid. I said, when they locked me in the closet, all my brothers and sisters, we would draw in the dark and do all the things. But I really knew I was going to be an artist by the time I was 7. I just remember saying that to myself. And,
Wow.
Yeah, I went to Catholic school first, and I won the first grade. I was in first grade, and I won the whole school's art competition all the way through 8. But my father helped me a lot with that one. I lied to the nun. She asked me, did anybody help you? Oh, no, sister.
Yeah, sister, that wouldn't be right.
So I figure now I was destined to be an artist just to make up for that.
But always drawing. Did you always know you were going to be a landscapist?
No, not at all, actually. Interesting, I never really had strong mentors. My parents encouraged me. Like, it was what I did. And they had artistic talent, but I never really had an artist that can shape me in a direction. Never went to a museum when I was a kid. One time, my neighbor took us to a museum, and all I remember is the carpet made shocks when my friend and I, we would walk around and we'd shock each other.
Touch them on the head.
Yeah. So nothing about the painting. And until I went to college, I studied at Northern Arizona University.
Okay.
And I had a great...
Now, that's a jump between Jersey and Arizona,
Yeah.
right? So how'd you get to Arizona?
Well, actually, my father, working for the newspaper, they actually went on strike in 1970 or so, 71. Okay. And they struck out. The whole place closed down. And a lot of the pressmen there saw Arizona, Phoenix, as an opportunity. It was a new city, a tiny city. And so a lot of them moved out there. And so I did too. I was 16. And I wouldn't have went if I was 17. Or just,
Isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah. And I didn't like it at all. I had a girlfriend, had all my friends we grew up with from day one.
That was in the days before text messaging and all of that.
Oh, nothing, yeah.
To leave a girlfriend at that point would have been hard to keep a
relationship.
relationship
Actually, we used to write and things like that. And, but all my friends that we grew up with in school. So that was a pretty rough change. But fortunately, Arizona, Phoenix was a growing place, and so lots of young people were coming in from all different places. It actually became a really good thing because it opened me up to a lot of things that I probably would not have been open to.
Okay, so you finished high school there?
Yeah, I finished high school.
And then college was?
NAU, Northern Arizona University.
Okay.
And my parents didn't really have many aspirations for me. Like, they didn't say, oh, you need to be a doctor or a lawyer. They didn't have money to send me to school, and no encouragement on that type of avenue. So in a way, I find that a blessing because you meet a lot of my students that I teach all over the world, and they're 50, 60 years old, and now they say they're coming back to art. They were a lawyer or a doctor or whatever it might be, but they always had that inside them, but sometimes the family encouraged them or discouraged them from becoming an artist.
I've got a lot of students in my world who we meet through the Western Art Academy, and you ask them, are you going to pursue this full time? And the answer is, I'm going to be an accountant, or my folks want me to be a veterinarian or whatever.
So that's a pressure that I didn't have. So in a sense, that was a blessing. And I just always had focus of doing my art and wanting to be the best I could be.
Now, was NAU an art school?
Yeah, actually it was known as a good advertising program.
Okay.
And so that's why I went there. And I didn't give it too much research, to be honest. But I was fortunate. There was one man, Chris Magadini, that came my second year. And he's still my dear friend. He just finished at Art Center.
Okay.
And he was such a great draftsman and good artist and just a wonderful man and good friend. And he really pushed me hard. And I think that changed my life.
You did 4 years at
Yeah.
And got a degree in?
Yeah, actually in advertising, BF in fine arts, but it was in advertising, illustration.
And then, so right after college, went to work somewhere?
Went down to Phoenix, and out of 85 of us who started, I think only 2 of us graduated after 4 years. And very few really ended up.
Well, that's an attrition right there, man.
Well, I know. A few afterwards, they took a little bit longer, but very few really made good careers out of art, out of that, maybe a dozen of them. Yeah. And so I went down, and I was considerably one of the better ones in the class, and all the places I went for a job, they offered me one. So I took the most expensive one for $625 a month.
There you go.
After 4 years of college.
Yeah, tell us about that in New Jersey, working in downtown Manhattan, and he was making $12,000 a year.
Yeah,
$1,000 a month.
Yeah,
in New York City.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so I was cleaning up our house recently, and we have a blender, an oysterizer blender. Right. And so after a year working for an art studio, that was my bonus.
Oh, no. Really?
But
you still have it.
I still have it.
There you go. It's been a bonus to keep so good.
Exactly. You couldn't imagine if I got $1 million, I'd probably been gone. But I still got that blender.
You still got that blender.
Yeah. But then I just wanted to be the best illustrator I could be. and so I, fortunately, Scottsdale Artist School, which a lot of the great artists that are part of your museum were giving lessons there. And James Reynolds and Roy Anderson and Bob Schufelt. I just
Shoefly?
Yeah, and just wonderful people that I had the opportunity to meet a whole different direction of taking my painting. And so
what were you doing illustration-wise? What were you doing in the illustration?
I did pretty much in Phoenix. It was a smaller market, so you had to kind of do a little bit of everything.
So you were kind of a generalist.
Yeah, so you would just get all sorts of jobs, which was really good because it was training for so many things. I did a lot of TV storyboards too,
Okay.
like a lot of, and that just made you work fast.
So it's cars one day and glamour one day and
Exactly, and then
storyboards one day.
TV and just a lot of different stuff, and working for the different agencies. And I was very shy like that too, so it was difficult for me to.
This was the early 70s.
This be 1980, like
Okay.
79 I graduated,
All right.
so 80, 81, and I eventually got a rep that he would go to see the clients. That helped a little bit.
Yeah.
But the school opened me up to, Scottsdale Artist School opened me up to all these other wonderful fine art painters that I didn't know about, and taught me to see in a different way. After 4 years of college and then
Right.
doing illustration and
Right.
making a lot of money at it, I truly didn't see as an artist. Really learn how to paint and
Right.
see visually like an artist needs to see. And so it opened my eyes.
But so many of our great painters today were illustrators.
Oh, yeah.
That's how they got their careers.
Oh, yeah. And even they were all coming.
Howard Turpning, Bert
Like-
Pummel,
They all came from
Anderson, yeah, all
back
of them.
New York
Yeah.
and Connecticut working illustration, and
Yeah.
then wanted to explore for their own. And so that was a good timing, really excellent timing. And so it totally shifted my direction. Then I started painting landscape. I took class with Wilson Hurley and
Wow.
so many of the
That's a
great-
legend right there.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember going out that early on, and my vision isn't very good. So I've always approached painting like as a color. I see fields of color. I don't
Right.
see detail
Right.
in a way.
Right.
And so they called me the faraway painter because it was just all fuzzy mess. But it just took me on another path. And then some of the artists that I studied with, Ray Vanella, who lived in Taos,
One of
who's
the Tower Six,
friends of Walt.
the modern Tower,
Yeah.
Tower Six, with Gonski and
Exactly. And,
daughters.
and
Yeah.
Goebel. And so that introduced me up to Taos. And then I did one good job in Phoenix in the illustration. And so I bought a little house up there, up in Taos.
Up in Taos.
Yeah. And then Wanda and I said, after going a couple times, we go, you want to give up the
Now let's
illustration?
talk about Wanda for a second.
Yeah.
She came on board in this adventure somewhere in there.
Yeah. We got married
Okay.
1 year after school.
Okay.
And 1 year after working at the art studio. And I asked her, I said, you want to go to Ireland? She said, okay. I said, well, let's get married first. And so I quit my job after the 1 year, and we went to Ireland for England, Ireland, Scotland for 6 months. And that was kind of like my first plein air excursion. And I would do little watercolors for $5, get someone to pose for
I'll
me.
take one.
I know.
Yeah.
They were only worth about $4. Yeah.
For the end, maybe.
Yeah, and so she ended up working for me in illustration for the next couple years, and then we both agreed we can go up to Taos and start a new adventure. And that was a big change because it
And
was
you've been together 40 plus years now.
46.
46 years.
Yeah, I think that's illegal to be together that long. Isn't it?
Wow, something. You and I are contemporaries in that I graduated in college in 1980.
Yeah,
and
exactly
My
the same
master's in 84, my doctorate in 88. And similar kind of
Yeah.
path, except I didn't have the talent to do the art. I had to find another way to make a living in the arts
Yeah,
by doing what I did.
And I would
Yeah.
probably do the same thing. I love collecting
Yeah.
art too. If I wasn't a painter, I'd probably be a
Do you remember that
collector.
moment that you thought, I can give up this illustration gig and be a fine artist?
It was that time I had, because Wanda and I didn't have children, we had an ability to take a chance, say. Because I was making a good income doing the illustration, and it took 5-6 years to build that reputation, and to walk away from it into painting, you totally start over. It's like ground zero again.
Yeah.
And
New collector base, yeah,
it's no connection really.
Yeah.
Getting away, moving from Phoenix to Taos was helpful because the distance, and back there they didn't have you couldn't do something over the internet, send the
Right.
image. I had the first fax machine in Taos. I would kind of fax a couple of assignments, but it didn't take long to kind of break from that. And then I got in galleries, and a few different little galleries, sold one here, sold one there, and we just prepared that we wouldn't make money for a while, and we were right.
It's art. Let's talk about it. Our guest today is Kevin Macpherson, a painter based in Taos, New Mexico, and it's exciting. It's fun to get to know people and their careers and how sometimes they parallel with other stories that I've heard. This whole idea of you just deciding and Wanda deciding you were not going to make money for a while, that you've got to build your career. And so at what point did you ever have a point, or did it just evolve that you're going to say that you quit calling yourself an illustrator and started calling yourself a fine artist? People see you in the elevator at the hotel. What do you do for a living, Kevin? You want to say illustrator.
Yeah.
You said that the first day one time. You said, I'm a fine artist.
Yeah. And
Do you remember when that happened?
Yeah.
Or did it just kind of slowly leaked into your system?
I do remember one time I was visiting Wanda's mom. We were in California, and we were going back to the airport, and somehow this fellow was in the van with us or something. Right. And I said I was an artist, and it was like he had no concept
of what an artist was.
Yeah, that you could make a living at it. Yeah, and at that time I started doing okay, and he was quite surprised.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a fine artist too. Like the word "fine," it's almost saying, "Yeah, I'm good." But yeah,
that's kind of the word "fine artist" means. Yeah.
But even to this day, when you say you're an artist, they're quite amazed. Still, people say, "Can you make a living?"
Can you make a living?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember what you were? Was there a subject matter that you just was the landscape? Always landscape.
Started out like that. Interesting too. Like I was painting up in the fall up in Flagstaff, and somebody told me that they were a reporter from Sun City, and took my picture and put me on their newspaper, and then the Sun City Arts Council asked me to do a demo. And as I said, I'm very shy, so that was a big thing. So I actually went to a hypnotist for 8 weeks to get the courage.
Did you really? That's an interesting side story.
Yeah, it really did, and I don't know if it worked, but it...
I had an artist tell me one time they did acupuncture.
For that too?
For that thing,
yeah.
Right, to kind of relax themselves enough to be able to, yeah. So it's whatever works in your world.
And I've been put into positions of doing conferences, keynote speaking.
So
and,
snap my fingers, will you turn into a chip?
Well, I say, actually, I don't know if that hypnotism work, but anytime Wanda snaps her finger, I do something. And so I think she was behind it on that, though. But to this day, I do it. I force myself to do it. But it's not easy. And so now I use a martini instead of a...
There you go.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
That works.
One of the things I want to talk about, and I know people who are listening, if they see Kevin Macpherson on our website and they click on this podcast link, they're going to say, if I get to the end of this conversation and we haven't talked about the Pond series, they're going to be mad at me because you're known for the paintings of your pond.
I think that's
across from your house.
Probably my legacy.
It's kind of become your legacy because it is brilliant and it is very well executed and done. And we were fortunate here at the Museum of Western Art to exhibit 50, 60 of your ponds, thanks to Janice Hines. I want to make sure I give Janice a plug here. Janice Hines at Hines Fine Art in San Antonio, Texas. Go look them up.
A great artist herself.
Great artist herself and a fabulous gallerist and friend of the Museum of Western Art. But she called, she said, I'm going to have these Kevin Macpherson pond series. And I thought, that'd be great, right? Because I've known about them for years and years. But I never thought we'd ever have a shot at it. So that's how we met, was through Janice.
Yeah, that was great.
Gosh, I just love that. But the Pond series, talk about how that evolved. And better yet, let me see if I can explain to listeners. It's the same scene done every day of the year.
Correct.
Over a period of 3 or 4 or 5 years. But there's a May 18, a May 19, a May 20, and whatever in this pond. And it's painting the same subject matter every day of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's people who have said, have you lost your mind?
Actually.
Talk about that project.
That's
so fascinating.
Yeah. I would stand in front of my little bay window.
Right.
And I have the little pond in front of my house.
Out 14 miles north of or west of Taos, east of Taos.
Little, very private community.
Yeah.
And I actually bought the house from Ray Vanella, who was one of my teachers and mentor and friends. I lived next door to him when he moved away. And so I immediately set up my little pochade box, and I just was starting to paint it for myself. And I do a couple a month or something. I said, it'll be fun to do one every season or something. And it just kind of evolved into, all of a sudden I said, I'm going to just do one for every day. But I never got a gallery involved, because as soon as you get somebody involved like that, then you have this deadline, this project that feels like it's over your head. So this was something I truly did for myself. Even when I was doing illustration, I always took time to travel and do my painting, and we would travel maybe 6 months a year all over the world painting.
These are all the same size?
Yeah, these are all 6 by 8 inches, just very small paintings.
6 by intimate little scenes.
Yeah, that I can capture in an hour or two at the most, and try to capture the whole effect, that immediate effect of whatever that lighting was. And
Plein air-ish.
plein air.
Right.
Yeah, except I have my window painting.
You're inside.
Yeah, so
Looking
paint
out a
air.
bay window. Yeah.
Paint air painting, yeah.
Paint air.
Yeah. Some days I would sit on the deck and do it. And,
Yeah,
but
but
most of
basically so that you could paint it every day of the year.
And we get winter 6 months of the year up
Right.
there because we're at 8,600 feet. But this was, I think, a project I did for myself, but I think it's like the true example of plein air painting, and for me, trying to capture the atmosphere, the light, the color, the momentary effects. And I think it's a great example of how one scene, the exact composition basically, can be affected by the light, the color, the air, your mood. I think it's a good example of that.
Did you paint at different times of the day?
Yeah, every day, let's say today and tomorrow, similar, like weather-wise, season-wise, but, the lighting at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, or
Right.
just, it kept me so alive, really.
Was the palette the same?
Palette was the same, 3 colors, red, yellow, and blue and white. Yeah, just the primary colors. And to see the variety you can get with
Forces
that.
you to mix colors,
Of course, yeah.
which you're a genius at. I know that.
Yeah.
But it's just a discipline, the discipline of it.
Yeah, and it becomes very meditative, really. So all the things you're busy in your career. And
Right. Now, it didn't take you a year to do this. It took you
5 years.
5 years to do
Yeah.
it. Because
Because of traveling, or let's say today I didn't do a painting, and then I'd write it down on the calendar, and the next year I'd try to do that. And then, for instance, the Plein Air Painters of America, which I was a president of back in 87 to 2000, we always had our show in Catalina Island in October. So for every year I was
for a
a
while,
gay.
October was tough to get.
Right. So
Yeah.
finally I said, I can't go this year. I got to do that.
I got to stay home and paint.
Yeah. And then some years I would do one every year. And then after I put the whole collection together, I would say, how does this one painting fit in the sequence? And I would cull some out, or sometimes they just were failures, so I'd do it again the next year. And it teaches you a lot, I think. And it teaches you to quiet down a bit. Find that little hour of meditation, really, when you're doing the painting.
Ed, there's a book about it.
Yes. And
And
so
it's-
after the book.
And it's
Yeah.
fabulous.
Oh, thanks.
It really is. Talk about the book real quick.
Yeah, so I kept a journal when I was doing my paintings.
Okay.
Just simple things.
Sure.
And sometimes the things were like, this was the day my mom died or something,
Mm.
or some happy event or tragic event or a struggle or something. Very simple things. Today I'm going to concentrate on grays in my paintings. Or
I'm one of the 6 people who've read it cover to cover.
They did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Susan McGarry, who was
Yeah.
editor for Southwest Art and a good friend of mine over the years, she did a lot. And then I had Roy Rose, who was the grandnephew of Guy Rose, the famous California Impressionist.
Okay.
And he was one of my best collectors over the
Okay.
years. And then John Stern from the Irvine Museum,
Uh-huh.
the director. They all participated in writing little bits into the book, too. But it was kind of a journal of that time period, and then it took about another 5 years to compile after the event. When I finished in 2000, I finished right on the millennium. So I actually have one painting the last year, the last
Right, I
day
remember
of the
reading
last
it. The last
century and the
century.
first. So that's why it's 368. There's a couple extras in leap year,
Right,
too.
right.
And so then I compiled the book, and that's been out there for now 20 years. And the show, it traveled around the country in few art venues and museums, and then it traveled in China for 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fortunately, I just got it back in 2019, right before COVID.
Right before COVID.
So who knows what would have happened.
May still be over there. if you
Yeah,
hadn't, yeah.
but it was really well received over there, and then I did some large paintings for the exhibit over there, too, that have traveled and sold over there, too.
Right, and we were fortunate to have, like I say, 60 some odd of
Yeah.
paintings here at the museum.
Yeah, and I never sold them until last year was the first time
Right,
I
and we were
offered.
selling. We sold a few
Yeah,
for you.
that was
Yeah.
the first time I offered them for sale.
And then I bought one of your pochade boxes.
Yeah, from Guatemala.
Yeah, from Guatemala
Yeah.
piece, and so I love that. But
Yeah.
the book is available
Yes.
through it. You can get it through your website.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. What's the website?
KevinMacPherson.com and
Make sure you spell it right. KEVIN
MacPherson. Yeah.
.com.
Yeah.
And you click on the link and you can buy that. We'll put that link on our website as well. And the Museum of Western Art has some copies for sale. Okay. So if people want to email or text us and let us know that they'd like a copy, we can make those available.
Thank you.
For them as well. But it's a fabulous book. You're happy with the final product?
Yeah, very happy with the product. And it's a very personal thing, too.
Right. And that's not the only book that you've read.
No, I've written 3 other books.
3 or 4. I was trying to remember in my head how many I've seen out there. And they're a little different.
They're more...
Talk about those.
My first book, and that was one of a good stepping stone in my career. I had a show at the O'Brien's Art Emporium in Scottsdale. That was a great gallery way back in the day. James Reynolds and Roy Anderson, a lot of great guys were in there. And somebody saw me from Northlight Books and asked if I would write a book for them, and so I did that. And I'm not much of a reader myself, so I said, I don't know if I could write a book. But so that was another one of those things that come to you, and you open that door.
Right.
And I think I'm really good at being adventuresome and opening those doors.
For a shy, quiet guy, you're pretty communicative about the art world.
But I never thought I would teach, and that really became one of my most rewarding things.
And you're one of the most sought-after teachers.
Yeah, I've been
in the art world.
Yeah, I'm good at it. I think I'm good at it.
Yeah, and I hear that from everybody, right? You had some students at last night who were gathering around you as much as they were Walt. Because I think Walt shuns the teaching aspect of it. He
does.
But people say, "Oh my God, Kevin Macpherson was my teacher." So you've become known for that.
Yeah, so I've done 3 books on teaching. So almost like every 10 years, as I'm working with students around the world, I find different ways to communicate it.
And those links are also on your website. Purchase those books available.
Yeah, and if you look up my name,
and Amazon's got them.
Google and things like that.
Amazon, yeah.
But I'm working on another one.
Those books are called. Let's just get them out of the way. The first one's The Pond, the series.
Yeah, Fill Your Oil Paintings with Light and Color.
Fill your oil paintings with light and color.
Landscape Painting Inside and Out.
Inside and Out.
And Conversations with Nature.
Conversations with all by Kevin Macpherson.
Yeah, and the next one is my Magic Grid, which I'm working on.
The Magic Grid.
That's going to be, I think, just a real eye-opener, a really good one.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our guest today on It's Art, Let's Talk About It is none other than Kevin Macpherson. And Kevin, talk about those things, because you are a teacher and you do workshops all the time. But one of the groups that listen to this podcast, believe it or not, are a lot of younger students. We've hooked a lot of brand new art people on this. And if I don't ask this question, they get mad at me because they're always looking for advice. What advice do you give a fresh artist? And let me throw some out there for you. Walt Gonski, yesterday when I talked about him in the podcast, that by the time people are hearing this, the podcast that we did for Walt, Walt said it's just paint a lot in plein air. Do it in real life painting, right? He said that's the key. Ron Riddick, the great artist out of Montana, previously of Arizona, he'd say, paint your hand 1,000 times. Paint that horse until you can paint a horse. Muscle memory basically became his thing. What's your advice? What would you say to a brand new artist? Mr. Macpherson, how do I get started in the arts? What's the best way to improve?
I think you have to think of it as a language.
Okay, tell me about that.
I taught myself to speak Mandarin, and I'm a slow learner. And little by little, and experiencing it and going, I've been to China like 28 times and putting myself into that place. So in a sense, like how these guys are saying, you got to do it, you got to paint it. Definitely you have to kind of put yourself in there. But we're learning a language, a two-dimensional language. So you have to teach yourself how to see. And that the Magic Grid book that I'm working on developed in a way that really teaches people how to see differently as a language. And it's amazing. I love getting someone who's never painted before, ever. And I can get them on the right course. And then some people that painted, very professional too, for 40 years, you get a lot of bad habits. And it's harder to change it. Just if we were skiing or golfing, and you have your ways, and you went back to study with a great Tiger Woods, if he took you from day one, you never played before, probably a lot easier than him changing your grip, changing everything. Right. So finding really, like, I get so many people, they're so passionate, but they don't have the language to communicate that passion. And then other people they're very technically good, but they don't have that passion part. Finding that combination and finding what you want to paint. Like my pond paintings, I did that for myself. And if someone told you to do it, sometimes you don't want to do it. You just don't want to do it. Or sometimes you see, like your cowboy museum here, if you are not really involved in that subject and you want to paint it because you see this is the fashion, I don't think that's truthful in your heart.
You've got to learn to speak the language, though, of art.
First, like, how do we speak that two-dimensional language? And it's really simple, but we make it very difficult. So to make a painting, it's so simple because it's little puzzle pieces of color. Getting them in the right spot's the tricky part. And so it takes doing it a lot so that, like Ron Riddick said, you do that and so that you learn to see, you learn to draw, you learn proportion, all those type of
things.
The
late Roy Anderson used to tell me that as well. He said, you got to be able to paint a horse with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
It's the muscle memory. Yeah. That was his thing with it. Yeah, it's always fun to ask that question. But so your advice to a young person?
Yeah, if you could really get with, like I was fortunate at Scotts Art School, these guys that we're talking about, Roy Anderson, to have the opportunity to get with someone to get you on the right path of understanding that language, understanding the dedication, the patience, the need, that it's not easy path, but it's a great path, and it's a really fulfilling lifestyle. If you really do it for the right reasons. I think when you're chasing something, if it's just the money part of it, you can make a lot of money and maybe make a great lifestyle that art can bring you, but does it fulfill you inside at the same time? And it's I've been doing it for 50 years. How do we stay enthused and curious and excited ourselves? That's easy. You can get into a formula where you can make money doing it, make a product, but would that really make you happy? And it's not saying it won't make you happy, but, individually you have to make those choices. But I don't think going to like a university is a wise choice.
I've heard that from people, and I'm a university graduate. I'm a university arts graduate. And I was fortunate in that I went to a university where they really talked about when you get out, you got to make a living at this. So it was not just to get the degree.
That's good. Lucky.
It was a photography school, basically. And so that was my passion, was the photography. But so many times I hear artists say, no, you're better off doing workshop after workshop with master artists, with the Kevin Macphersons of the world, and just taking lots of workshops and investing your money and your time into learning intensely.
Yeah. And nowadays, with the internet, there's YouTubes, and you could really learn a lot, too. And
who are those people that you appreciate? I'm going to throw Walt Gonski out there.
Yeah, actually, like Walt.
Walt's a good friend.
I think he has the most true art spirit of most any artist I've ever met.
He really does.
Yeah.
He is a great true art spirit.
Yeah. And you just had a show with Kwang Ho and Scott Christensen.
Both very passionate. Well, Scott Christensen had told me, he said, this is not what I do. This is who I am. Mm. And I latched onto that.
Yeah.
And he may not even remember ever saying it. We were sitting on his back.
I could have stole that from him.
Yeah. And I thought, man, I'm going to steal that. And people say, what do you do for a living? I don't do anything for a living. I do what I do at the Museum of Western Art because I'm passionate about it. I love it. And I think when you do that, it shows. You think it shows in the art when you're passionate about it?
I think so. And people know it more than the artist sometimes himself. It's hard to look at our own work sometimes and know how it's going to affect somebody. But I like on my business card someone to say, what do you do? And I like to make people smile.
Yeah. Something
like that. But I just make people look differently. Like back to the Pond series again, you said, do people think I'm crazy? And I remember one time I'm standing in front of my window in my robe, because first thing in the morning it looked pretty good. And I live in a very quiet place. And the UPS man would always see me. He would drive by and always see me standing in that window. I was like that
creepy guy with the window
that had the dead lady in the background or something. And so he asked my neighbor, he goes, what's up with that guy?
What's up with that crazy guy standing in the road with a brush at something? He's waving his arms. Yeah.
And a lot of my friends, I don't realize it, but visually I'm just attracted and curious all the time. And my mind thinks a lot different than normal people. I think I'm normal, but I said, no,
So who are back to the question, who are those people that you admire?
The artists like Walt and Feshin, the dead artists like Feshin and Egon Schiele.
Wow.
Just Antonio Mancini.
I hadn't heard those names in years.
Feshin especially, like the more I paint, the more I admire that man. But just
I'll never forget standing in the Feshin house. Gosh, it's been 30 years ago. And so we were getting ready to go to the Feshin house. We were at a restaurant, and somebody said, "You're going to the Feshin house," and she said, Feshin. It was almost a reverence kind of thing. They talk about Feshin with
Did you know Aya back then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So isn't that fun, those same people?
Yeah, so, and the illustrators, N.C. Wyeth and Cornwell, and that's,
Cornwell.
Yeah, like that school of art, I think that really was a true American great artist, that lineage, so many connections. It's fun to enjoy one artist and see how, who they studied with.
And I had the privilege recently of walking with you on a tour given by Steve Talley, the painter and Taos resident. We walked the Cal Sharp house.
Yeah, that was fun to get
And that
there.
was fun.
Yeah.
To see something through Steve's eyes and his discussions and descriptions. But as importantly, to walk it with you and look at what excited you.
Yeah, and that was fun because I knew Virginia and would go in there. And the history and the connections of all the artists. And so many artist friends, that a lot of great artists like Ned Jacob.
Just passed away.
And so we're just talking, Walt and I and my friend Bob Limler. There's so many artists that are going to gather for a little ceremony in Santa Fe, which I'll be in Europe next week, so I won't be able to go. But we were just talking how many connections that man had.
Yeah, it was really funny. Gonski and I were talking about the fact that he and one other are the only two left of the modern day Tower Six.
Yeah,
they're gone.
Yeah, Ron Bersano.
Ron Bersano. I was trying to remember which one it was.
Yeah,
but Ned Jacob passed away recently, and so a lot of the greats are moving on.
Yeah, exactly, and
so to speak. What's it like living in Taos?
For me, it's probably very different. I live 15 miles out of town, up in the mountains, 8,600 feet. We get much more snow, and I don't drive into town a lot. It's a windy little road, and I travel so much all around the world, 6 months or more a year for painting. Oh, easily, and for painting. So when I get home, I kind of hide out.
Just kind of hunker down.
Yeah, and so maybe people don't even know I live there. So in some sense, it's a shame because Taos has such a unique architectural and wonderful spirit in town.
Well, I certainly enjoyed spending the day with you, Steve Talley, Walt Gonski. What fun that was going to. Was it Orlando's? We'll shout out to the restaurant that I had the best
chili relleno
I've ever eaten in my life.
Yeah, it is good.
My gosh. And then the tour of the Sharp Cow's house.
Yeah, and it's really
shout out to Davison Keening.
Oh, he's doing a great job.
Boy, he's doing a fabulous job. And people need to hang on to him up there in Taos.
No, they're really transforming that into.
He's doing such a fabulous job, and it's an honor just to be a part of his world with that. And we've got paintings here that he wants to hang there, and he
nice
things he'd like to have in my collection that we're not going to give him, but we may loan him, that kind of thing.
But he's doing a wonderful job. And
it's fun to be a part of an art world that is so vibrant and stuff. But last night at the this is by the time people are hearing this has been several weeks ago at the Walt Gonski opening, you ran into a lot of people who walked up and said, "I was a student of yours."
Oh yeah,
that must have been fun and rewarding.
Yeah, actually, as I said, teaching is the most rewarding thing, and if we can give back and share that, I think that's really important. And I think we're lucky that artists are willing to do that. It's not like we're hiding our secret way of doing it.
I asked the same question of what advice would you give to a young person, to another artist on one of my podcasts, and he said, "You pick up the phone, call me. We will talk art all day long. Send me your stuff. It's so easy today to send me, and let me critique your work. They're giving individuals, and that's really."
Yeah, and our career goes really fast. It's like you're the up-and-coming artist. All of a sudden now, like we're talking about, the greats are the ones we admired are passing away, and we're next on deck.
But you're that generation that we've all been in this business 40 years now.
Yeah.
It's hard to think about that.
I know.
But, we've been in this a long time. And
50
almost 50 years. It's 60 for Walt, 60 or longer for Walt, guys like that. And so you just find yourself going, golly, where is it?
Yeah.
It's such a blessing to be able to. And one of the things that we've enjoyed about this podcast is a chance to record the thoughts of people like yourself and Walt Gonski and Ron Riddick and James Muir, and my list goes on of the 35, 40 people that we've interviewed so far in the last year we've been doing this.
Yeah.
Because you don't get a chance to sit down and have a private conversation.
Right.
Often.
Yeah, and often I wish you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wished I could have had a conversation with Ned Jacobs.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, what if he was here like a month
I didn't get
ago?
a chance to have a conversation on tape with Roy Anderson. I moved to Kerrville to take this job, and Roy Anderson was one of the things I was excited about. I was going to get to hang out with the great Roy Anderson, and he dies 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
And so it's just a blessing to be a part of the worlds of so many great artists.
Yeah, like I studied with Roy back when he first started back in Arizona, and got to know him and his wife a little bit. And yeah, the people that come through our lives, sometimes they're such friends, too. Sometimes you don't think anything about it, and then all of a sudden, after 40 years, how they've changed the art world in their particular path. And so many people have, if you think of Monet and Cézanne and Renoir, that group of great impressionists, you think almost like that's not real. But, we have that community here, that over the years we have those groups and pass through each.
And we talked about the Pond series already, but one of the things we didn't mention was that people often compare your Pond series to Monet's Water Lily series.
In a sense of
Reaching for something, right? That same approach to trying to find the piece, in one thing and interpreting it 1,000 different ways. Or
whatever.
In your case, 368 different ways. Right?
Yeah, and just finding that light. Or, doing a series like that, and that could be boring in some ways and exciting in another way. But travel also. That was one of those things that I'm looking at one thing, and then travel is something I always mixed in my life.
Right.
And so every day I'm seeing something fresh.
Has traveling to China, Europe, has it changed your art?
Yeah, I think definitely. It just keeps me alive, I think,
You're
curious. But when you go on vacation for 12 days, you get up early, you stay up late, you really pay attention.
Right.
And then you get back home and you're grind to things. Sometimes you take things for granted. So I think always being in that vacation mode, always keeping my eyes awake for something, I think is good for my art.
In addition
spirit.
to the book, what's next for Kevin Macpherson?
That'll be a good one, my new book on the magic grid, and I ask my students, why are you here? What do you want to do? And whether they're painting starting or many years, and they want to improve. And so what does that mean? So it's kind of like an evolution. And myself, I want to improve. Like, why do we have that drive to always try to get to that next level? And we don't know what that next level is sometimes. But that keeps the artist going, I think. We always have that spirit, what's behind that door. and going to China, for instance, the first time, I didn't have any interest. And then it just opened another door, and then another door. And then I volunteer with children in different places, and that opens up a door and that I wouldn't realize. And it's been a really good lifestyle. I'm fortunate.
Been a good adventure for all of us, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, like growing up in a very simple place and not really having anybody to push me in a direction. And who would know? Like some of the opportunities that came to myself, I would never imagine. Yeah.
Couldn't predict this life. Thanks to Wanda for loaning us Kevin for the weekend.
Driving me around and doing
part of
my
her world,
doing the remote control on the TV and
giving you time to paint and allowing you being
and
a partner and all of it. Yeah,
that's really a big important part. That's a team that also, like a lot of great artists, don't have that spouse that supports them, not necessarily financially supporting, but mentally, and that's a real big thing.
Yeah, we talk about the Nancy effect. Nancy Russell, Charles Russell's was the reason he wasn't just a drunk cowboy sitting on the side of the street, became the great artist because she drove him and pushed him and controlled him.
Yeah. And that's important, to have somebody that can share that vision and goal, and maybe knowing how difficult it is to get to that next step and not giving up on you too. So I think that's really a good one.
List of workshops available on your website, the ones you're teaching?
Probably not. I usually do one or two in Taos, and then I'm going to do one in China and one in Italy maybe.
I'd love to have you do one here at the Museum of Western Art.
I would love to.
I think we could
Oh,
I think we could fill it up 3 times over.
Yeah.
There's plenty of areas to paint in this community. So we have a vibrant community here.
Yeah, I would love to do that. And
So
yeah,
maybe-
I've lots of, actually one of my first classes was in Texas, Beaumont, Texas.
Yeah. Maybe we can get the great Kevin Macpherson down here to do that.
Sounds good.
It'd be fun. Let's remind everybody one more time, kevinmacpherson.com. And it's just Kevin, your first and last name.
Yes.
Okay. And that's where they can find your website and links to the books and information about you.
Yeah, and if you just look on the internet, lots of stuff will come
A
up.
lot of stuff will pop up about all your other
Yeah,
books.
don't believe some of those things.
Our guest today has been Kevin Macpherson on It's Art, Let's Talk About It. We always say this. I say, hey, you want to do a podcast? And people say, I don't know if I could talk for 25, 30 minutes. And we've been talking for 53, something like that. And it's just that simple, right? It's just what we do and what we love. And I'm honored and so privileged that you were able to join us on the show today.
I think you are a treasure for this museum.
No,
No, you really are. Like, you are approachable and
It's
excited,
boy,
just
it's-
like an artist.
It's fun. And it's like I said, somebody said to me, it's not what I do for a living, it's who I am.
Yeah.
Live it and when you enjoy it. Like an artist enjoys their life, I'm an artist in this sense. And I'll never forget, I had a mentor, a teacher, friend of mine in high school. He's still with us, and I talk to him occasionally, Bill Smith over in Salado, Texas. He said, Mr. Beauchamp, perhaps we should find another way for you to make a living in the arts. Because I wasn't an artist. I knew all the technique and theory, but it couldn't come out my hands. It wasn't ever going to be something I knew I could make a living
But
at.
wasn't that lucky he gave you that?
And so it kind of started my thinking about how I can make a living in the arts. And one of the ways was photography, because I could capture it without having to. So I became a photojournalist and a photographer, and then that led me to the museum world and those kinds of things. So you find yourself looking up here, 50 some odd years later,
Wow.
and thinking, if it hadn't been for that one expression, let's find for you another way to make a living.
No,
in the
that's
arts.
lucky, yeah.
And we all have those moments in our lives.
Yeah.
But off to Europe, and then back to Taos, and
And back to Mexico.
back to Mexico. You're going to have.
Yeah.
You're always moving somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
We appreciate the time today on It's Art. Let's talk about it.
Thank you, Darrell.
Thanks for joining us, Kevin.